I was 32 years old and working double shifts at Mercy General Hospital in Phoenix, Arizona, when my sister showed up at my door at 11:30 on a Wednesday night with 3 kids and a garbage bag full of clothes. My name is Sophia Mercer. I am a registered nurse. I know how to stay calm when everything around me is falling apart. I know how to make decisions under pressure and keep my voice steady when someone is bleeding out on a table in front of me. But standing in my doorway that November night in 2016, looking at my sister Lisa's hollow eyes and the 3 small faces behind her, I felt something crack open in my chest that no amount of medical training had prepared me for. The oldest was Ella, 7 years old, holding the hand of her 4-year-old brother Jake. Pressed against Lisa's leg was Mia, who had just turned 2 and was clutching a stuffed elephant with one ear missing. Lisa looked like she had not slept in 4 days. She probably had not. "Just for a little while, Sophia," she said. "Ryan left. I cannot do this alone right now. I just need to get my head straight." Ryan was her husband. They had been married for 5 years, and the marriage had been a slow-moving disaster for at least 3 of them. Prescription pills, unpaid bills, a DUI in Tempe in 2015 that Lisa had quietly paid a lawyer to make mostly disappear. I knew the shape of the problem, even if Lisa rarely talked about it directly. I let them in. I made grilled cheese sandwiches at midnight and put the kids to sleep in my spare bedroom with every blanket I owned piled on top of them. Lisa sat at my kitchen table and cried in that way people cry when they have been holding it together past the point of being able to hold it anymore. She was gone by morning, left a note on the counter that said, "I will figure things out and be back for them soon." Underneath it, a piece of notebook paper with the kids' school names and their pediatrician's phone number and their allergies written in her handwriting. That was November 14th, 2016. Lisa called twice in December. She was in Flagstaff, she said. She needed more time. She was going to meetings. She was working on herself. I told her the kids were fine, that Ella had started at the new school, that Jake had made a friend named Marcus on the street. She cried again on the phone. She said she was sorry. She said she would call on Christmas. She did not call on Christmas. January came, and I filed for emergency temporary guardianship with the Maricopa County Superior Court. The forms were 31 pages long, and I filled them out at my kitchen table between 12-hour nursing shifts while Mia slept in a pack-and-play 6 feet away. I paid the filing fee out of my own account. I moved from my 2-bedroom apartment in Chandler to a 3-bedroom house in Gilbert that cost me $1,100 more per month than I had budgeted for in my entire adult life. I did not know what else to do. There were 3 children in my house, and they needed to go to school and see a doctor and eat breakfast, and someone had to be responsible for them on paper, not just in practice. Ella started wetting the bed again. Jake stopped talking for about 3 weeks, just went completely quiet in that way little kids do when the world has confused them past the point of having words for it. Mia was fine because she was 2, and 2-year-olds accept the world as they find it. But some nights she would wake up at 2 in the morning calling for her mama in a voice that sounded like it came from somewhere much older than 2 years old, and I would sit on the edge of her bed in the dark and rub her back and tell her everything was okay until she believed me again. I got very good at believing things I was not entirely sure were true. By March of 2017, Lisa had been gone for 4 months, and I had spent just under $19,000 on rent, groceries, childcare, school enrollment fees, clothing, medical copays, and the particular financial chaos that comes with suddenly becoming responsible for 3 human beings who were not in your plan. I had dipped into my emergency fund, and I had picked up extra shifts at the hospital until my charge nurse sat me down and told me I needed to sleep before I hurt someone. In April, an envelope arrived from Lisa. Inside was $2,000 in cash and a note that said, "I am getting better. I think about them every single day. Tell them I love them." There was no return address. I used the money for Jake's preschool deposit and Ella's new glasses and a weekend trip to the desert botanical garden that I told the kids was a special adventure and that Ella told her teacher about for 2 weeks afterward. The months passed the way hard months do, slowly and then suddenly. Ella started 3rd grade, Jake learned to read, Mia turned 3 and 4 and started calling me Mama Sophia in a voice so casual and permanent that it stopped surprising me somewhere around the 14th time she said it. I coached Jake's soccer team on Saturday mornings and drove Ella to her reading club on Thursday afternoons and sat in the front row of Mia's preschool winter performance with my phone out like every other parent in that gymnasium, filming a 3-minute nativity play like it was the most important thing I had ever documented. I did not file for adoption. The honest reason is that I kept thinking Lisa would come back. I kept thinking that the right thing to do was to leave the door open for her, that locking it legally would be the thing that finally broke whatever thread was still connecting her to the possibility of being their mother again. I had seen what addiction does to people, and I had also seen what recovery does to people, and I believed, the way you believe things about your own family even when evidence suggests otherwise, that Lisa was somewhere in the process of becoming someone who could come back. Lisa sent money twice more over the next 2 years, small amounts, irregular, with notes that got shorter each time. The last one arrived in September of 2019 and just said, "Sorry for everything." Then nothing. She showed up at my front door on a Thursday evening in October of 2023, 7 years after the night she had left 3 children on my couch and disappeared into Flagstaff. I was helping Jake with a history project at the kitchen table when the doorbell rang. Ella, now 14, answered it and then came to find me with an expression on her face I had never seen before, something between recognition and alarm. I knew it was Lisa before I turned the corner. I knew it the way you know things about people who share your blood and your childhood bedroom and the particular shape of your family's worst tendencies. She looked better than I expected. She had put on weight, she was clean, she was wearing a decent jacket, and she had the careful posture of someone who has spent time in rooms with other people working on themselves and has learned to hold her body differently as a result. "I want to be in their lives, Sophia," she said. "I'm 3 years sober. I have a job. I'm ready." I stood in my doorway and looked at my sister and tried to locate something simple to feel. I could not find it. "Come back tomorrow, when the kids are at school. We need to talk first." She nodded, she left. I stood in the kitchen for a long time after that, not moving, while Jake asked me twice if I was okay, and I told him twice that everything was fine. It was not fine, but I had gotten very good at that particular sentence. The conversation the next morning lasted 2 hours. Lisa sat across from my kitchen table, the same table where I had filled out guardianship forms and paid bills and helped with homework and made lunches, and she told me her story. 3 years at a sober living facility in Tucson, a sponsor named Brenda who had been sober for 22 years and who Lisa credited with saving her life in language that sounded genuine rather than performed. A job at a landscaping company in Scottsdale, a therapist she saw every Thursday. I listened to all of it. I believed most of it. Then she told me she wanted to petition for custody, that she had consulted a lawyer, that her legal rights as the biological mother constituted sufficient grounds for restored parental involvement. I looked at my sister across that table, and I felt something I did not expect to feel, which was grief. Not anger, just a deep and exhausting grief for everything the situation required me to do next. "Lisa," I said, "Ella is 14. She barely remembers you. Jake has a life here, friends, a team, a school he loves. Mia was 2 years old when you left. She calls me Mama.
That's not something I engineered, that's just what happened when you were gone for 7 years. She said she understood that. She said she was not trying to erase what I had built, she just wanted a chance. I told her I needed to talk to a lawyer. Rebecca Nguyen practiced family law out of a small office in Scottsdale with a cactus garden in the front and a reputation for being direct to the point of occasional uncomfort. She reviewed my guardianship papers, my financial records, the school documents, the medical files, everything I had accumulated in 7 years in the organized and slightly obsessive way that nurses organize things because their professional lives depend on documentation. She set the papers down and looked at me over her glasses. "Your temporary guardianship has never been properly renewed," she said.
Technically, it expired years ago. You have been operating as a de facto parent, which is a recognized legal status in Arizona, but which you will have to establish formally before any custody proceeding. Lisa has rights as the biological mother, however, 7 years of absence and failure to provide consistent support creates strong grounds for arguing abandonment. What does that mean for the kids? I asked. It means this is going to be a fight, she said, but it is a fight you are positioned to win if we document everything correctly. The question is what outcome you actually want. I want what is best for them, I said. She nodded. Then let us figure out what that actually is. The hearing took place in Maricopa County Family Court on a Tuesday in February. The judge was a methodical woman named Judge Diane Calloway, who had the energy of someone who had heard every variation of every family story and had stopped being surprised by any of them, while somehow not becoming indifferent to any of them either. Lisa's attorney argued that her client's sobriety and demonstrated rehabilitation constituted sufficient grounds for restored parental involvement. He was measured and professional. Lisa sat at her table in a pressed jacket and looked at the kids' photographs on the evidence board with an expression of genuine pain that I did not doubt for a single second was real. Rebecca presented 7 years of documentation, every receipt, every school conference note, every medical record, every extracurricular enrollment form. She presented the testimony of Ella's school counselor, who had worked with Ella through 2 years of anxiety treatment and who described me as the consistent and stabilizing adult figure in Ella's life without hesitation. She presented Jake's soccer coach, who had known our family for 4 years. She presented Mia's teacher, who described Mia as a secure and emotionally healthy 9-year-old with a strong attachment to her primary caregiver. She also presented the guardian ad litem. The guardian ad litem had interviewed all 3 kids privately. Ella had been characteristically direct. "I respect that Lisa is working on herself," she had told the GAL. "I think that is genuinely good, but she is not my mother. Sophia is my mother. That is just the truth." Jake had said he was open to getting to know Lisa, that he did not want things to be complicated, that he mostly just wanted everything to stay the same. Mia had apparently looked at the GAL very seriously and said, "I already have a mom." Judge Calloway read her decision aloud in a courtroom that was very quiet. She acknowledged Lisa's recovery and noted that it was meaningful and real, and that the court respected the difficulty of what she had accomplished. She said these things without condescension, and I believed she meant them. She then said that the best interest of the child standard required her to weigh continuity, attachment, stability, and the demonstrated capacity of each party to meet the children's ongoing needs. She said that 7 years of consistent care, emotional investment, financial provision, and psychological parenting created a bond that the court was not prepared to disrupt on the basis of a biological claim alone, however sympathetically presented. Primary legal custody remained with me. Lisa was granted supervised visitation to begin immediately, with a structured pathway toward unsupervised contact contingent on continued sobriety and the children's own expressed comfort level. Lisa's first supervised visit was on a Saturday afternoon in March. I took the kids to a park in Tempe and then walked to a coffee shop 2 blocks away and sat with my phone face up on the table for 90 minutes while a woman named Tanya from the visitation program supervised. Rebecca had suggested I not be present for the first few visits, that my absence would allow the kids to engage with Lisa on their own terms without managing my reactions at the same time. Ella texted me at the 45-minute mark. It is okay. Weird, but okay. Jake texted me a photograph of himself and Lisa throwing a frisbee. No caption. Mia apparently talked about our dog, a 3-year-old rescue beagle named Biscuit, for approximately 40 minutes without stopping. Lisa, by all accounts, listened to every word. It is 18 months later now. Lisa has not missed a scheduled visit. She calls the kids on their birthdays and on holidays, and sometimes on ordinary Tuesdays just to check in. Ella has started asking her questions about their early childhood, the things that happened before she was old enough to form clear memories, and Lisa answers them with the honesty of someone who has spent 3 years in therapy learning that honesty is the only thing that actually holds. Jake plays Lisa videos of his soccer games. Mia still calls me Mom, but she has started calling Auntie Lee with the casual warmth of a child who has decided the situation is acceptable now that she has had sufficient time to evaluate it on her own terms. We are not a simple story. We are a complicated one. Most real families are. But we are here, all of us, still showing up for the kids who needed someone to stay and slowly, carefully, making room for the person who is finally learning how. That is something. After everything, that is genuinely something.